Hi there, welcome to LTalk Tottenham. Unfortunately, another bad result and another result where we look in disarray and just not a team at all. This week, I'm joined by two friends of mine, Ben Taylor and Matt Simmons. Unfortunately for me, they are United fans, but I've been assured by them that all the gloating was done on WhatsApp yesterday. They're here to talk about the game from their perspective. So for the first time on this podcast, we have a Tottenham and the opposition perspective. And because they've been there before, their thoughts on where Spurs are on the Jose management life cycle and if it's the beginning of the end with everything that's been going on. So all that and more on Let's Talk Anything But United. Hi Ben, hi Matt. Without winning too much, you all right?
Fine, thanks. Yeah, you?
Well, I'm slightly less happy, but yeah. Matt, you all right?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, mate.
Cool. Cheers both for coming on. It'd be quite interesting now to get a perspective of the game from both sets. Obviously, it's a Spurs podcast, so you only get it from the Spurs perspective. Ben, thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I thought first half was pretty even. I know there was quite a lot about the Sun incidents gone on. I might be a little bit against the grain, but I could see why they overturned it. Don't get me wrong, it was annoying.
We'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, but I do think second half we were the better side, and I thought Pogba yesterday was just brilliant. So, but yeah, I think we dominated the second half. Really, I think we did deserve it in the end. I think the last goal is just you're pushing forward, but I think we were well worth the victory, to be honest.
Yeah. Matt, what were your thoughts coming into the game? Like for Spurs, it was a must-win if we want to get into that top four. I think Man United are fairly. You might disagree, but you'll be in that top four, so it may have been a draw would be a good result there. But what were your thoughts going into the game? Like scared, nervous?
I would say for the first time in about how long has it been now? 7 years or so. I've been confident about playing Tottenham. And that was even on the back of playing Granada on Thursday, and Tottenham had a whole week off. But from what I've seen with Tottenham over the last few weeks, I was just confident. And when I saw the Tottenham defence, I was confident. And then the first half happened, and then at half time I was less confident. But the second half, I think it proved me right. I was right to be confident, I think.
Yeah, well, I spoke to Ben on Friday. I said we'd be better off if we played with 7 and scrapped the defence completely. But anyway, do you think he picked Cavani there, knowing that whatever defence we were going to play was going to be struggling, lacking confidence, lacking a bit of wiliness, even if that's a word, I don't know. Do you think he picked Cavani there, Ben? Because he knew, Cavani's got a bit about him. He knows little tricks and stuff. You looked at the goal that was disallowed, which we'll come to that in a bit, that his run there, just the stop and then sprint off. Do you think he picked Cavani there because of how Spurs have defended this season?
I think if you watch any of the analysis, I think, you can totally see that. And you need to remember, Cavani, was he match fit, Ben? I don't think he was. I think he didn't play on Thursday, did he?
No, I think United were a little bit not forced into playing Cavani. I think he is our best moving striker in the box. He gives us something a little bit different than like Martial and Greenwood. I think Greenwood will be a top striker. I think that's where he'll end up. But I think the movement, like you say, for the goal that was disallowed was just incredible. And I think I quite like Rodon. Is it Rodon? Rodon, that's the Welsh kid. I think he's actually not a bad defender. You've got a bit of time for him, but I think Dyer, who I do like as well. I do like Dyer in some aspects of his game, but I don't think he's particularly quick-footed. And I think Ollie, being that type of striker, would have pinpointed that. I think, and I think the way Spurs play, we really had two choices. We were either going to play Greenwood or James from the right, or we were going to play, Cavani up top. I think James tends to play in the games where we play on the counter, and I think everyone knew that Mourinho, you weren't going to come flying at us. I don't think that was ever likely. So James was sort of ruled out. I was a little bit surprised when Greenwood didn't start, because I think Greenwood's been playing well. But I think Ollie was right. I mean, Pogba coming into that front three, not only did he play exceptionally, Pogba, but he gave us that option as well to hit the front quickly. A couple of times he almost was like he's almost like the target man. So I think Ollie got it right. I think not a lot of people give Ollie credit when he does get it right. I mean, he gets a lot of hassle when he gets it wrong. I think he got it right, and Greenwood coming on fresh was just a masterstroke, really. But I'm not so sure I was as confident as Matt going into the game. I have to be honest. I think Cavani gives you that movement, but we needed to attack. And in some of the games recently, we haven't done that. And when we don't do that, Cavani's a fish out of water. That he needs that players in and around him. And I think it worked. I mean, Pogba coming into there and Rashford, it was quite fluid. But Cavani as well, just he's a person you can hit and play off. And I think he was great. The movement for like you say, the disallowed goal was great, but also the movement for his goal, just again, Dired, and just a little bit, they're all flat-footed there. He's on the move, they're not. And even Fred's goal, he peels away. He finds that room. And again, Dyer's just slow to react when he's, electric. So yeah, it was great.
I think when defences are struggling, strikers will fancy their chances there. Like, give me the ball, I can get this defence. But you mentioned the disallowed goal, which I think was absolutely ridiculous. Son really, very weak. But then for Ollie to come out and then say, all of this stuff, you got Fernandes in your team and he went down early, easily on a more of a challenge. But all players do it, which I don't think it was a foul. I don't even think it was a foul. It was just a warding off. But I don't think the referee got it right a lot. That Lo Celso should have given a foul away, possible penalty, I think, on Rashford in the first half. That was just waved away. Pogba hit Aurier with an elbow. I'm not sure that was deliberate, but you've seen sometimes they're given, sometimes they're not. I mean, for Mourinho to say that was the turning point of the game, the turning point of the game was us turning up. But yeah, disallowed goal. I mean, Matt, even if that goes in, it doesn't make any difference to the result, I don't think, because Man United turned up in the second half. We didn't. But were you angry at the time? Did that make you think, it's not going to be our day? Or did you think, well, we do it once, we'll do it again?
When I said I was confident going into the game, that changed it for me. But what impressed me was there was about, 10, 15 minutes where United completely changed after that. And it was all Tottenham. And that's when they scored. And I think United were angry. They were frustrated. And I think there was a little bit of, not totally, but I think it was edging in that they're starting to feel a bit sorry for themselves, i.e. being hard done by. But what's great is that the second half, that changed completely. They were controlled. They were they were like a different team. And it was, I think that, again, credit to Solskjaer for that half-time talk must have been, it was perfect, because they came out and just, they didn't let it get to them. I think as
well, half-time came at a good time for us. I think it did come, like Matt says. I think if you go back to the 6-1 earlier in the season, when Martial got sent off, we lost our heads for pretty much for the next 40-odd minutes. And it cost us goals. I mean, we made silly. I mean, you got to take advantage of it. It's not taking anything away from Tottenham, but we were all over the shop. Not just the centre backs who were over the shop, the full backs, the midfield. We all lost the plot, I think, in that game, and it was good to see it come back this time around, because it was, like Matt said, I did think, especially you guys scoring straight away after. It was. I mean, I should quantify the decision. I think the disallowed goal, when I first saw it, I thought it was wrong. But I think what I mean is I can see when he goes to the VAR and looks at it, there is contact to the face. Now, Son doesn't need to be down for 4.5 minutes or whatever, right? And I agree with you that, Fernandes, we've had Ronaldo in the past, Young. I mean, every team has a couple of overly guilty culprits. I think every team in the league. I don't think there's anyone who doesn't. I think, it's the whole, like, is it part of the game? Is it, cheating? You wherever you stand on that. But the goal in real time, I think, was fine. And I think if he had allowed it to be a goal, I don't think anyone would have complained. But the minute it went to VAR and you saw the contact, there's no way McTominay meant to get him. And I've seen people say, like, it should have been a second yellow. I don't agree with that. But the argument is, I guess, is if he doesn't hit him, Son keeps chasing him. I don't know. So what I mean is I could see the logic of it. I don't think pretty much every pundit has come out and said, oh, definitely it should have been allowed. I think it's a little more 60-40, 50-50 than that. I do, but I don't, like you said, I don't think it changed the game really necessarily. When you scored straight after, but the second half we were just so good. I don't think it would have made that much difference.
I think with the disallowed goal, watching it, I saw him go down and the arm come out. My first reaction was get up. And then you see Cavani make the run. I don't know which defender it was against, but I think it was Dyer in front of him, so couldn't see him. And it must have been Rodon, but it was a small run and it's just caused so much damage. So I was more annoyed about that. But with Son's disallowed goal, shouldn't have gone down. But I think we can all agree, and everyone can agree, he doesn't deserve any racist abuse for that, which he's apparently received. Which we don't need to talk about that because it's mentioned every episode. But yeah, come out in the second half. As United fans, are you slightly annoyed a little bit because they mentioned in commentary, first half you don't really turn up. You needed to concede a goal to then suddenly play. Are you slightly annoyed, Matt, as United fans, that why don't we just play like that at 0-0 from the start? Why do we have to make it a little bit difficult for us?
That's the story of the season. It's
But yeah, playing like that, you're second in the league. Are you slightly annoyed by that, or is it just, well, it makes it entertaining?
I think the word that keeps coming up is character, and it shows that there's something happening and there's something there, and I don't want to say foundation, but there's something within the core of that team that they do not stop playing for the manager. I don't want to compare it to Mourinho's time at United, but this is the first time I've seen a United team that slightly resembles Sir Alex Ferguson teams, i.e. 90 minutes, they'll give you everything they've got. I think yesterday was different because of the incident we just talked about. I don't think it was the usual kind of United drop a goal against a West Ham or whatever, and then United turn it around. I think yesterday was different because of the incident. And like I said there, I think United's character changed completely. But in the second half, it's like that incident never happened. Yeah. United just took control. And I think that comes back to there's something in this team. And people keep saying about, we need more signings, but we do. But at the moment, we're doing all the things that a good team should do.
I mean, we scored and then it got a bit niggly for about 5-10 minutes with fouls coming in. So I thought one or two things are going to happen here at half time. Second half, United are going to come out all fired up because they're angry, or they're going to let it get to them and someone's going to get sent off. And then if it's option one, we need to match that. And I mean, 18 points we've dropped from winning positions this year. It's just, that's got to come from the manager, that kind of negative attitude, like we're winning, don't lose, rather than a United attitude in this game. I know you weren't winning at that point, but go and win. And we'll come to the manager in a bit because one of the advantages of having United fans on, granted there's not many, but is this Jose life cycle of a manager life cycle. So we'll come to that. But second half, I thought Wan-Bissaka, he could have made cups of tea every time he went forward and still had the space. No one was tracking him back. Son wasn't tracking him back. And then Reguilón gets the kind of criticism there. I feel sorry for fullbacks sometimes, but do you think that was a plan from Solskjaer? Like, he's not going to track back on that left side, or do you think it just stretched the game out because Pogba started coming deep, getting the ball, and then just showing what Paul Pogba's about? Or do you just think it was the players going, well, we need to win this game, give me the ball, Pogba says, and then I'll sort out the rest and everyone else move along?
I think in our team, you look at United's team. I don't think it's any secret that generally the major threat comes down the left-hand side. I think Shaw's been the best left back in the country, or in the league at least. And Rashford, Rashford's been carrying an injury since like December. Like, but the guy is still is probably going to have his best season in terms of goals and stuff. Wan-Bissaka gets forgotten about a lot because he's not as good on the ball. And I mean, it used to be years ago where you used to, like, they say, oh, let a centre back have the ball. Because, Chris Smalling, he's not going to hurt you. He's not going to hurt you with the ball. If we have to let someone have the ball, let it be Chris Smalling. I think Wan-Bissaka gets a bit of that treatment now. So I think the idea that Son's cheating on that side, is actually a semi-attacking move. I mean, obviously you need to cover it with Højbjerg and Sissoko and Lo Celso, whoever's there. But I think the feeling is, for a lot of teams, you don't let Shaw. You have to deal with Shaw. You don't necessarily have to deal with Wan-Bissaka, and it has caught a few teams. I think Newcastle tried it early in the season, and Wan-Bissaka scored. But yeah, I think Wan-Bissaka is always going to go forward. He was a winger at Palace before he was a defender. I think it's actually quite his natural game, but he isn't as fluid with it, I think is the best word. And I think what you saw that was really clever from Solskjaer, he ended up, especially when Greenwood came on, they flooded that side a bit. Like, Bruno was almost playing wide-ish kind of right. Greenwood was out there as well. And that's where the Cavani goal came from. I think there was Wan-Bissaka, Greenwood and Fernandes in almost like a little pocket of space. And they did overload that side. They made that side, more creative. And Wan-Bissaka got in 3 or 4 times down that side. And the final ball is where he struggles. And I think that may be why they thought, leave Son that side, let Reguilón take care of him, and Son will be available on the break. But it didn't work out that way for you. And I think Son is a dangerous player.
I think when it doesn't work out, because your first goal had been coming for, I think it was 56 minutes, had been coming from 45, and Wan-Bissaka was getting free on that. I mean, not just free, acres of space.
Yeah.
And you got Højbjerg in there, you got Underbelly in there, you got Kane, you got Son, Dyer. They're all experienced players. So Son, get back, help him, because they're going to score here, and it didn't at all. And it just, that's what frustrated me a lot. You could see where the goal was coming from, but
you had the same problem against Arsenal, didn't you? You had the same problem against Arsenal with Doherty on the left with that Smith Rowe and Tierney, and it's really un-Mourinho-like. I mean, I don't want to get onto Mourinho if you're going to talk about him later, but it's really un-Mourinho-like, especially when you're winning, to just say to a player, "Yeah, you cheat. Don't worry about tracking him." I mean, Matt, I'm sure Matt will remember Rashford playing as a back 6 at City one time. He was pretty much left back. It was a back 4, and then we brought our wingers back to play almost wing backs. That, so it's really un-Mourinho-like to do that. And I just don't think in very few games away from home season, United not dominate possession, but have more possession. But we did yesterday, and I think that showed. You get your fullbacks high, and I think that's where United are dangerous. If we do get possession, then we really can push up and get them on the ball. And I think that's where we're definitely going to be best, because it gives more space to people like Pogba and Bruno and things like that.
That also comes from the team selection that Ollie put out. He didn't start with, like you say, he didn't start with Dan James. So therefore, pace was put to one side for this game, because he knew that United would have some possession. And, with Pogba, Fernandes and Cavani, you can't attack from the back, can you? It has to be a slow transition forward, and that played into Bissaka's hands as well, because he was able to follow that pace. He wasn't being under any pressure. So yeah, again, obviously we've already congratulated Solskjaer a few times, but I think he got the game, he got the team spot on, didn't he?
Yeah.
And before the game, he mentioned about Henderson being the number 1 in the league, Matt. Obviously, he's got big shoes to fill there of Schmeichel, De Gea in previous years, but do you think by saying that he's the number one, like he said he's number one in the league, De Gea, you've got other competition. Do you think he's basically saying there De Gea is going to be gone and Henderson is my number one? Because he made quite a few good saves, especially when you got to 1-1. I think Kane had a couple of shots, Son had a shot, all saved.
Yeah, I think it was inevitable that Henderson was going to get a chance, and he deserves it. And I think De Gea, I think people maybe, I think De Gea is aware that this was going to happen. I think he knew that he was going to spend a couple of games, miss a couple of games, sorry. And Henderson, he needs to now prove that he's number one, and he's not done anything wrong so far. And it happens at United, the iconic keepers come and go. De Gea will not stay, but who can afford him? Like, I think Paris possibly, but I think he's going to struggle to continue getting paid, because isn't he like the highest paid Spanish footballer in the world at the moment?
He's like over 300k, isn't he, or something? I think.
Yeah. And so it's either he'll continue fighting for his place and making good money. Even a drop will be good money, but I don't know who can afford him. So I don't think it's as straightforward as he will go this summer. Not out of teams don't want him. Financially, I don't know how it will happen, especially with Haaland and all these transfers. Apparently, it's going to happen this summer. I don't think teams can afford multiple big signings. But I think De Gea is experienced enough, he's old enough now to understand that a younger keeper will challenge him, and Henderson deserves it.
Yeah, I thought he played quite well. I mean, 1-1, one of those goals goes in. I mean, it probably wouldn't have made a difference because we'd have been defensive again, and then you'd have just got the second anyway. But it might have given us a bit of like a kick up the backside, like, right, you've let the lead slip now. But there's a complete contrast in the substitutions. Jose's been lauded before for substitutions that have like won games and everything like that. And then Solskjaer brings on Greenwood. We bring on Sissoko. It's 1-1 all to play for. I mean, they both send out messages, right? And
yeah,
by bringing on Sissoko defensive, that again is highlighting and emphasising to the team that defensive mindset. You bring on Greenwood, who's got pace, defence who are struggling. Surely that says to your team, we're going to try and win this.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I do think that the league position did allow Ollie to be bolder. If we were within 1 point of each other, I'm not so sure he brings Greenwood on and goes for the juggler. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think Ollie ever sets out to draw a game. I think he's got that Fergie kind of thought process, but I don't think a draw would have been a terrible result for us yesterday. Like, I don't think it would have been, given the league position. I think we would have probably taken it. The win's obviously a bonus, and good to see us go for it. But if we had lost that game, if it had gone the other way, we would still be in a good position in the top four, I think. And I think it did allow that to be bold. That being said, I mean, Matt will tell you the same. Jose doesn't really make that many attacking substitutions. I mean, the old Fellaini on for the last 10 minutes stuff, was, classic at United. I mean, Fellaini worked really hard for us and gave everything and scored some important goals, but
you mentioned that to me on a Friday, and I read today in the gossip column, we're after Fellaini.
Oh, really? Well, it doesn't shock me. It doesn't shock me. I mean, like, I see that Souček at West Ham, and I think David Moyes is like looking at. I mean, I think Souček's probably better with his feet than Fellaini, but I do think those two managers, they like that. They like that kind of that presence. And Fellaini did some good things for us, but Sissoko, I was a little bit surprised didn't start. I didn't really understand. I mean, I think Underbelly is a top player. Like, I've heard some. He reminds me a bit of Pogba. They're different to a degree, but very hard to get the ball off him. Very hard. I think whilst you're obviously in a down at the moment, it doesn't mean you always have bad players. I think he yesterday I thought he looked good. There wasn't a lot of movement ahead of him,
I'd
but Lo
slightly
Celso was a
disagree
weird
with you
one.
there, though, because I thought certainly the first half, every time he got the ball, generally, he looked backwards or side to side, very Harry Winks. Whereas
Yeah, but I don't think there was much
certainly in the
going on in
second
front
half,
of him.
I do agree with that. But yeah, whereas Pogba, in contrast, every second half, certainly, every time he got the ball, forward.
Yeah, but again, Pogba was a free, wasn't he? Pogba was part of that front three,
Yeah.
and Underbelly was in the middle.
Yeah.
I, and I think that's what happens to Pogba now. I think he has lost a little bit of the trust in the big games to go and play as part of the two in centre midfield. And I think it was a game against you lot when Mourinho was in charge of us, where Eriksen and Ali just took him apart, Pogba, in that deep position. I don't know if you remember, they were arguing on the sideline with Mourinho and Pogba. But what you can do with Pogba is you can stick him on the left, or you can stick him in at number 10, and he can then go and affect the game. And McTominay and Fred work so hard; they're nowhere near as good on the ball as players like Ndombele and Pogba. But they will work for you. They'll work. They'll do the nasty parts. Even a little bit sly. Hold you back a bit, get a yellow card. They're not against that. And I guess that's what you guys missed. I think compared to us. I think we had five yellow cards in the game, but at least we laid a glove on you. It was.
I think Harry Kane, he was so isolated up top, and
yeah.
What really frustrates me is that quite clearly attacking is our best area of the pitch.
Yeah,
and it's kind of put on the back burner a little bit. But like in terms of
that is Mourinho.
Yeah,
that is Mourinho, especially if you go ahead. Because he's. I think the guy that the pro pundits have said this. It doesn't sound like me just like backing what they say, but they've had Terry. He's had Terry and Carvalho, Lucius and Samuel, Ramos and Varane. These are world class centre backs. And
Byron Samuel isn't quite the same level, is he?
Yeah, no, but I mean, but yeah, and they are world class centre backs, and so to see out a victory for Chelsea where they've got Terry and Carvalho with Makaleli and Essien sitting in front of you, with Ashley Cole at left back and Paulo Ferreira, whoever his name was, at right back, or Ivanovic. That is always going to be tougher than I mean, I look at Serge Aurier and Reguilon, and I think they're better going forward. I know that's modern fullbacks. I totally understand that logic. And I agree with you. If you're going to play those type of fullbacks, you might as well get on the front foot and go the other way. Lose 3-2 or don't 4-3 or whatever. But Kane and Son are your best players by a country mile, in my opinion. And if you don't get them in the game, you lose games. I think where we struggled this year is if Bruno doesn't come up for us and no one else does, that's where we struggled. Rashford's had a great season, but he's played with an injury recently, but it's the same. I mean, you can't. I mean, there's no way like Bayern Munich let Lewandowski play up top and don't supply him. That game against PSG the other day was a madness. At one point, they were playing one at the back. It was just it's. But that's Mourinho. Matt will talk more about Mourinho. I think he feels as strongly as I do, but I've said it before, Mourinho is only good if you're winning trophies. The minute you're not winning trophies, there is nothing.
Yeah.
No under 18s progression.
We are at the moment. We've obviously got this trophy to play for, but like if we don't win that, I think, I mean, what's good about you guys being on is that you've seen this this management life cycle before. I mean, year one, fine. Year two, win something. Year three, it goes falling apart. We could end up skipping the year two and then going to 1 to 3. But where do you see, Matt, the Jose management life cycle at Tottenham? Because he's making all these excuses, and he went away after he got sacked by you guys and then came to us. He said that he's changed, he's become humble, and he's kind of reverting to type now. The old Mourinho just. I'm sick of seeing as well, whenever we've lost the game, turning the TV on, that Paddy Power advert comes on where he says he's special trim his kid. I cannot stand that. But where do you think Spurs are in that managerial life cycle? Do you think it's League Cup or bust?
Would you be happy with the League Cup? I know it's a trophy, but I think if I don't know, I might be wrong here, but if United were in that position at the moment that Tottenham are in, and they came away with the League Cup, it would be a great day out, have a few beers. But as a season, what does it mean? But for Mourinho, I think I read somewhere on before the game that Mourinho apparently after his time in Madrid, it changed completely. And Chelsea said this to United when United went after him. They said he's not the same man. And I think Spain changed him a little bit. And he's just brought a certain bitterness with him. And it's always there, but he can play the game with press. He can go and get paid to do paddy adverts and, whatever it's called. He can kind of, I don't think, I think he knows he's not the manager he was. And I think it really gets to him. He can't compete with Klopp and Solskjaer. But but I think it's inevitable. Levy is currently looking at not this season, he's looking at next season and how much will it cost to get rid of him. As looking at Tottenham and where Mourinho, where both of them are at the moment, it's almost like one of them just needs to move on. Like one of them needs to make a decision and say, okay, well, this isn't working. We need to start thinking about the future. And Mourinho definitely needs to think about the future because
I agree with that. I think even if he wins the League Cup, Spurs need a project now.
Yeah.
Spurs isn't being fixed in a year now. And you could argue Mourinho is the right man with his resume. I don't think he is. Some people would. Spurs fans that I've seen just want to see decent football. I keep seeing it on Twitter. He's the luckiest guy. There's no fans in the stadium, and if that's the case, it's time to change because it's not going to get. It's not. I don't think he'll change, and you could end up with no Kane next year.
I think he would have changed if there were fans there because I can tell you if there were fans there seeing us drop 18 points, there'd be boos. Do you think either the players would have taken it upon themselves to go right, we'll attack, or maybe
I don't know.
Change?
I don't know if he would. I don't know if he. Yeah.
In a weird way, Mourinho would love it.
Yeah.
It's just who he is. It's just who he is, and he would find a way to kind of paint a picture where he's a victim. Maybe he would go after Levy or the players a lot more.
Yeah. He went into a press conference after a United game against Sevilla and talked about United having no football heritage.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not the greatest team anymore. I understand that. It's not Fergie anymore. But no football heritage. Maybe it's the same yesterday. The same yesterday where he was talking about calling Childline or whatever it was on Ollie. But
But that's what he does, though, doesn't he?
Total deflection. Total deflection from his poor decisions, his poor team selection, his everything. And at the end of the day, Mourinho, in his own words, is defined by trophies. He needs to win that trophy, not just keep his job at Spurs, but I think to get another top job anywhere.
Yeah.
Like I do think with Mourinho, what I would say, I know you sometimes call him a dinosaur. I don't agree with that. I think there is a team out there for Mourinho where, a bit like the way Simeone started with Atletico Madrid, which is solid. That's their basis, and the fans accept it because they're not Barcelona. They're not a team that traditionally plays, in super entertaining football. There's no Hoddles. There's no, Bales, Kanes, whatever. In the history of a club where fans are used to a particular way. I spoke with you on Friday about what I would do, and I think I've done that. But I just think he has to go now. If I'm a Spurs fan now, right? My question is he going to be around for 5 more years to rebuild this team? He's not. He's not. So
you hit exactly what I was saying, that get this season over the way, try and win that League Cup, try and get into the top 4, whatever happens, get a new manager next season, someone who can get Kane on speed dial, buy him cakes, buy him anything he wants, keep him there. Because you mentioned earlier, Ben, when Fernandes didn't do anything, you struggle a little bit. But he didn't do anything yesterday. Pogba did. Cavani did. Which if Kane doesn't do anything, we've literally seemingly got no one. I think selling Eriksen and not replacing him was a bit of a big miss there, because Kane is now our top striker and our top playmaker. And I mean, you saw yesterday, he didn't really get the ball. That shot he had was such a tight angle, he was never going to score, really. But he's feeding on scraps. As a striker, you're going to take a chance. I think if teams can defend against us and stop Kane playing, and when Kane plays, that automatically generally makes Son play. You can stop that.
Yeah. I really don't think, though. I really don't think you have bad players. Like, I think there's a new, there are some. I'm not. Yeah, every team has some.
Negativity there now.
Yeah. I mean, you look at people like Pogba and Luke Shaw. When Mourinho was there, they were like discarded.
Yeah.
As useless footballers who can't follow instruction. I mean, arguably Luke Shaw's, the best left back in the league. Pogba, since Christmas, certainly, whether he's looking for a move or not, I don't know. But since Christmas, he has been outstanding. Pogba. I know he had a little injury in the middle, but he's been outstanding. And I just don't see. I mean, I look at I look at the players, and I don't think they're terrible players. Lloris is a decent goalkeeper. Maybe coming to the end, I agree. Rodon I quite like. Dyer I don't mind. Alderweireld I think is good. I think probably all three of them would be better in a back three, maybe. But Reguilón and Aurier. Is it Aurier? Højbjerg. I like Højbjerg. I like Ndombele, Son, Kane. I mean, it's not that you've got. I mean, I even quite like Harry Winks. I think he's in the right team. He's got a role. I just think they're not playing the way that those players want to play. They're all those. I talk about like Ndombele, Son, Kane, Lucas Moura. They're all offensive first players, and he's just not right for them.
Yeah,
was it Mick Richards?
At the time.
Was it Mick Richards yesterday after the game who said he doesn't quite know what Tottenham are?
Yeah.
And that was the same thing that was being said about United for how many seasons?
Yeah.
So whoever United were playing or played, they were always being praised for having identity and a style of play that you can kind of recognise. United, it was like, what are they? Whereas now that it's turned, and unfortunately, the one link there is Mourinho. The same thing was being said about United under Mourinho, and that didn't change.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. It's amazing when you've lost a game out and you get the opposition fans on how quickly time goes, isn't it? But thanks so much for being on. Even more thanks for talking about football, not laughing about it. I appreciate that. Thanks so much for being on. It'd be good to have you on every time we play United and just general football chat. I know we did an episode. I did an episode about me and Mac actually, about Harry Kane. I know, Ben, speaking to you on Friday, you had some disagreements with that. So it'd be good to have you on talking about that.
Yeah.
Matt, just anything about football, that'd be good. You guys are happy with that?
Yeah, perfect.
Just before you go, anyone who likes films on YouTube, Matt is part of Outward Film Network, so check them out. And then me, Matt, will be back next week with the Everton game, probably another loss. But
Good luck.
Good luck, guys. Cheers.
Thank you very much for watching. Before you go, please make sure you give the like and subscribe buttons a click. For anyone who's after just the audio-only podcast, firstly, thank you for listening. Secondly, you can still get that in the normal places, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your audio podcast from. Alternatively, if you go to @LTalk Tottenham on Twitter, you'll be able to find the link to Anchor there as well. We'll be back soon. Until then, come on, you Spurs!